Hey everybody, how are you? Yeah, it's not Pastor Aaron, it's Paul. It's okay. Um, Wherever you guys are, however you're listening to us, thank you so much for hanging out with us on Tuesday evening, getting ready to eat supper, dinner, whatever you call it. I'm not sure what it is in your house, but thank you so much for jumping on with us. We're supposed to be having a yellow ribbon ceremony, but if you've been outside at all today, it's like um, some kind of tropical system is blowing through, and it is crazy out there and very wet. So if you're on the road, make sure you're being careful, or you have loved ones on the road coming home from work or whatever. Man, it's crazy out there. But just wanted to just jump in with just a short devo. And just first of all, thank you guys so much for hanging with us through all this. It has just been an incredible ride as we've navigated COVID and different services, different times. And thank you so much for everyone that has responded to the survey so far. It's just been really great to see all you guys' comments back to us, and it's just so encouraging. We're so ready to get back in the building, and we're so ready to be back united with everyone. But on the other hand, we're trying to be responsible, and we're trying to be good stewards of what God's given us. And we know that we're all eager to be together, but that time's coming. So a few more weeks outside, and then maybe we'll see you guys back inside. But continue to follow us on social media, follow us online for all the latest updates on that. So we're in this series just exploring who God is. And man, sometimes when we jump into a series like this, it is easy to get overwhelmed with all that God is. And sometimes if I was just to Google right here, who is God? Man, so many different things would come up. But the strange thing is a lot of who God is comes from what we want God to be and what kind of circumstance we're going through. God tends to be that for us. And on one side, man, that is so amazing that God has all these sides to him. I remember 7 years ago, I lost my mom, just kind of tragically, out of nowhere. Got that call, and there's so many people I know watching has gotten that call too. And I just remember when I was going through that, thinking, man, I thought that I knew who God was. I thought I knew how good he was and how much peace and comfort that he could bring to somebody. But man, I just remember one day just having this thought, man, God, you're so from this view, God, you're so beautiful. You're so amazing from this view. I've never seen you this way before. And I know that I've spoken to so many people during this crisis that they've seen another side of God too. They've seen him in the stillness, in the silence, as we've all been drawn away from all the things that make us sometimes who we think that we are. God has shown himself to us again through nature and so many other things. But as we're looking into who God is, what do we do when we don't feel like God is speaking to us? What do we do when we feel like God is silent? When it's quiet and we're alone, and we desperately want to hear a word, a voice from God, and it's just nothing. It's just crickets. It's just dry. We can't get going. We might get the worship music on. We might we open up a good devotional or something like that, and those are great things to do. But sometimes we go through these seasons when, especially as we're jumping in and looking at who God is and how great he is and what he's been and what he is to us, sometimes it leaves us feeling just a little bit jaded because we might be going through just a dry patch with him. And I just want to be honest with you and say, man, I've been in those places. I've been in that dry space, and that, God, are you real? Are you really real? The way that I need you to be. And if that's you, I want you to know that you don't have to be ashamed of that. I mean, I'm saying it online here with people can watch it whenever they want to. That, I've been in those situations where I've doubted, said, God, I've been following Jesus for a long time, but sometimes when I want God to act in the way that I want him to act, sometimes it just seems silent from him. And sometimes we have these standoffs of, I want God to be really emotional to me at a certain time, and that's not what's good for me. And I just look for him in that emotion, and he's just not there. And sometimes he's yelling all around me through all types of circumstances, and I just don't hear it. And I want to look for him in a little quiet place, and he's really being loud to me, and I'm trying to dictate, that my relationship. And I don't know if you've ever been there. I'm guessing that you probably have, if you know Jesus and you've been following him, that sometimes the feels just aren't there. But I just wanted to give you all some encouragement tonight. If you're overwhelmed with maybe your relationship with God, or the bigness of all of it, and how just overwhelming it can seem, that just know that God knows that, and that if God wasn't able to handle your questions of doubt, of where are you, what are you doing, we look around at all the things that are going on and say, God, what's going on? I think he's welcoming those conversations. I think he wants to talk to you about it, and he wants to give you some clarity on it. But don't try and force him into a box and make him react the way that you want him to. If he wasn't this, if he couldn't handle your questions, if he couldn't handle my questions, what kind of God would he be? He wouldn't be a God that's worth worshiping and serving and giving your life for. And that's the God that I know. But so when God is silent, what are some things that we can do? I asked that question up online. Feel free to kind of jump in there and throw those answers up there. I really appreciate that. But my mind is kind of drawn back to the cross. And if you remember the story of Jesus being on the cross, it's documented throughout so many different texts, not just the Bible, but how this man died was so intense. And he just cries out in Matthew 27:46, and he just says, my God, why have you forsaken me? And it just brings me so much comfort to know that Jesus felt forsaken. And it might give you comfort too, to know that, hey, if you're feeling forsaken, if you're feeling left behind, left out, disregarded, overlooked, maybe you've been passed up. If you're feeling that way, man, Jesus felt that way too. And to know that him and his Father had this really close relationship. And sometimes if you've walked with Jesus and if you've had those close times before, you just long for having that close time again. But when it's just not there, and you're wondering why. And so Jesus is encountering this sin that had been put on him, and to watch his Father just look away for the first time must have been just crazy, the worst feeling. I know that there's times when my son disobeys or does something he shouldn't do, and I have to withhold myself. I have to withhold love. I have to withhold maybe he thinks he deserves a compliment, right? And maybe what he did wasn't something that was worthy of a compliment. I have to withhold that. And it just hurts, man. It just doesn't feel good to withhold that, and to know that God had to look away from his son, and then for Jesus just to cry out in that just humanity, to say, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you left me? And we all know now, we know the truth. And I think Jesus knew the truth more than anybody else, that God hadn't forsaken him, that there was a plan, there was a way, and that Jesus was accomplishing that way and that plan. But it still leaves the feelings of being forsaken. And so as I wrap up, I just want to say, if you're feeling forsaken, it's so interesting that Jesus, because he felt all these feelings that we feel, he felt being hungry, he felt being forsaken, he felt tempted, he felt thirsty, he felt left out, run out of town, he felt forgotten, all these things. He felt anger, these things that we go through. It helps us know the heart of God more, because we know that, God created us with all these emotions and all these feelings, and that's how we can know him more. So if you're feeling like God is silent, what do you do when somebody is speaking softly? You lean in, right? You say, I couldn't hear you. And you continue to press in. And it's a discipline. It's hard when you're with someone who speaks really, really softly, or if there's a lot of music playing, it's hard to focus. Maybe it's a loud restaurant. Man, I wish I could go to a loud restaurant, Jake. That would be awesome, man. If we could just go to a loud restaurant. You remember those times when we had to lean really close? And man, I remember being in a restaurant in Europe one time, and I'd never eaten there before in a restaurant in Europe, and they sat us beside these people like really close, and I remember having to sit, just to hear anyone, had to sit really closely. But that creates a level of intimacy, having to lean in and having to be close. And so if you feel like God is silent, know that he's not silent. First of all, that the heavens declare just the glory of God. They speak on their own. Just the stars, the trees, they make a sound. I love to kayak, and as I get out there where it's so quiet that I can't hear anything else, I hear the grass, and I hear animals, and I hear the water, and all those things are just crying out to their Creator. So the heavens declare it. So get with nature, get outside, get away from the distractions, lean closer. God's word again. God is always speaking in his word. It's like a TV that's always on. We just choose to mute it. So you can always hear God's voice speaking to you through God's word. And I know some of these things sound cliche, of like, hey, pray more or read the Bible more or those things. But these things they're really true. They're really disciplines, and they're things that we do as believers to get us through some really hard times, even when we don't feel like God is as close as we want him to be. But know that he never moves, he never changes. His shadow never shifts. It never moves. And that's just something that we can always take hope in. So as we're jumping into who God is this summer, if you're not feeling it, if you're not seeing it, continue to push, continue to show up, and to listen, and to maybe get a little bit quieter, and see how God's trying to speak to you. I've really loved you guys hanging with me during this time in the evening. I know as people are getting ready to have dinner or hang out with their kids, and maybe coming home from work, or maybe you've been stuck inside, and maybe you're gonna get out for a little walk or something in the rain. I really appreciate you guys hanging with us. There's so much that we are preparing and doing during this time online. We're keeping things refreshed and new, so continue to check out our website, continue to check out our social media pages, and we'll all get through this together, and we'll see you Sunday. And if you need anything, you can always reach out to us. You can always reach me at paul@crossroads.cc. You can reach out to counseling@crossroads.cc or office@crossroads.cc. Just make up a word and put at crossroads.cc, and it probably will come to us. So you guys have a great evening. We'll see you next time.